So I was fortunate enough to sit in with Activision and Raven as they went over the brand new anti-cheat coming to Warzone with the integration of Vanguard later this year, sometime towards the end of November. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, just double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Pretty much when we sat down, we're just watching a Zoom call. They did like a 45-minute briefing with like a 15-minute Q&A. So I'll start off by saying the anti-cheat for any game is not some kind of magic bullet that's just going to get rid of all cheaters. It doesn't really work that way. You're really just trying to make it as hard to cheat as possible, as annoying to cheat as possible, a hassle to cheat, so that it just reduces that volume. And there's several steps that they're taking to make it more challenging. The system is going to be significantly better at catching people trying to cheat and making it that much more difficult for people to get multiple accounts. They're obviously going to be working on several different things. They didn't go into all the technical details. It's just more like, hey, this is what we're bringing. It's going to be a kernel level anti-cheat, which means it's going to have the highest authority in your system. And the reason they're going this far is because a lot of the cheat providers have gone out of their way to also get kernel level access, so they can try to combat that. So this will get rid of the bulk of cheating, and it'll actually make it harder for the casual cheater that wants to go out of their way to try and get cheats. It's just going to be a lot of hoops they're going to have to jump through. So that being said, will you still run into cheaters? Probably occasionally, but it'll be so few and far between, and hopefully they'll just kind of dwindle out because it'll be so annoying to try and cheat on a game. With it being free to play, it is nearly impossible to stop people from getting new accounts, but obviously putting safeguards in place to make it as difficult as possible is the key. On top of that, there's still going to be manual reporting, and that's where shadow banning comes into play. They didn't really refer to it as shadow banning, but normally, if you're unfamiliar with that, is you get into high ping lobbies or queues. And I put quotes on that because they're not actually high ping. It's just kind of a lobby where you kind of separate it from the rest of the group. And that is kind of what happens. You just sit there and you queue in with other people that are considered suspicious or cheating or whatever the case is. And they're all thrown in there because of mass reporting. And then they get a manual review to identify, hey, you know what? Is this person cheating? That will still be in effect, on top of the brand new anti-cheat, which should be going out of its way to stop any kind of hacks that are going on. And that's going to tack on to obviously the more effective anti-cheat that is being added on to stop and just limit the ability to even launch the game if you even have cheats active in the first place. So on top of the anti-cheat, they are going to be adding a streamer mode, which will basically copy what Cold War does and then do a random queue system, so it makes it harder for people to stream snipe, which isn't really all that important for the general person watching this. But it also makes it so people will be able to hide their names, which obviously if cheaters want to hide their names, you'll still be able to report them. That'll get reported to their actual account. And then obviously it creates some tricky situations where if you died to them, but you didn't get a kill cam to report, it's going to be tricky to find them in the post game. But you'll be able to look them up on COD Tracker, and that will be their real name that you'll see in the post game when you're looking at your recent players. A little bit of jump around, but I think they're going to figuring stuff out to make that system a little bit better, taking feedback. And that's the key. They're still testing stuff out on how to work around some of these issues that are a little bit more nuanced and require a little bit more input to kind of figure out and fine tune what works the best after the anti-cheat is actually launched. They also talked about a few other quality of life things, like the player block list is capped at 200, kind of working ways so maybe if an account has been permanently banned, they could automatically be removed from that, but that is kind of maybe a future thing. So one of the things they talked about during the Q&A portion was this supposed whitelist that a lot of people talk about, and it seems like there's a lot of confusion on this. The guy pretty much explained, the guy who was in charge basically explained they use a whitelist for two different reasons. One is to make sure that somebody who's maybe popular doesn't get thrown into the shadow bans from getting mass reported. Are those reports still tracked? Yes. It just doesn't mean that they're going to automatically be thrown into the shadow ban lobbies where they're going to be in these high queue lobbies. On top of that, they use it for the World Series of Warzone to make sure that this person is able to get into a specific lobby. Does that mean that people are able to get better matchmaking? Who knows? They didn't talk about that. But what they did say on top of this is that there is no system in place that would make somebody untouchable if they were whitelisted. Specifically, that is the word. He said nothing in the system would make someone untouchable, meaning that regardless if you were whitelisted, if you threw on cheats, you would be banned. There was nothing stopping a player from being banned if the anti-cheat wants to detect their account, they are not untouchable. So if they have not been banned after this, they're likely not cheating. Another thing that was addressed on the call was people using a Cronus, a Strike Pack, a Titan 2, or whatever peripheral they use to cheat besides a regular controller or keyboard and mouse. So they actually plan to shut them down in 2 different ways. The first being go directly to the platform. So that's like PlayStation, going to Xbox, going to Microsoft. Obviously Microsoft's and Xbox the same, but making sure that individual USB stick or whatever would not function with the individual devices. So that would just be shut down. They said that was a little bit less likely, but obviously they would integrate it into the anti-cheat because the scripts are scripts. That means they're very predictable and they do not function the way a human would. So they would be able to detect them rather easily once it's built for that, and they would get shut down and those players would also get banned. So if you're one of those losers, be on the lookout once that update happens and you're going to be kind of screwed. So that was pretty much it. I mean, not a ton of details without going technical. They kind of went technical on some stuff, but that kind of goes over the heads of myself and probably a lot of people. At the end of the day, there's going to be less cheaters. Will there still be cheaters? Always. It's PC gaming. And that's just kind of the way it always is. There will always be cheat providers and there will always be an anti-cheat where they're just now getting ahead of it where they can actually compete with these hacking sites. So they can actually make it so that there's way less cheating in the game. And it's just one of those issues you rarely run into like Fortnite or Valorant. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, learned something new. If you did, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you subscribe with notifications on. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.